Number 10. WALL-E is responsible for Earth's destruction? WALL-E isn't exactly like other robots of his kind. He collects things, listens to old recordings, and longingly stares up into the night sky, all alone. But how did it become this way? All the other robots of his kind are clearly out of commission, so why isn't he? The answer, according to some theorists, is that he killed them all, one by one. You see in the movie how angry he can get when people or robots try to take and destroy the things he covets, like the seedling he found on Earth. So imagine if he saw another one of his kind attempt to compact a trinket he found amusing. How did he manage to do it all himself? Well, the other robots never malfunctioned like he did, and so it simply wasn't in their programming to defend themselves from him. Using parts salvaged from his victims, he has survived much longer than any of his kind should. But here's the most damning part of the theory. When humanity left the planet, they left the various WALL-E bots behind to clean everything up for a reason, meaning they expected it to work, eventually. Probably in much less time than Axiom has been in space, meaning that at least in the city he resides in, he is the reason things haven't improved in all those hundreds of years. Number 9. Helga is the protagonist in Hey Arnold. Helga is a complicated character, to say the least. Spoiler alert, she's in love with the main character Arnold, but she doesn't exactly express this very well. At all, actually. She's actually Arnold's #1 bully throughout every episode of the show. Her life is clearly much more complicated than Arnold's, and she is in every episode. She goes on and on about how she loves Arnold, and it is her saying, "Hey Arnold," throughout the opening. Even just looking at the screen time given to each of the show's characters, Arnold's is rather low compared to the main characters of other cartoons. No matter how you look at it, the show is pretty much about Helga and her obsession with Arnold. But with Helga as the main character, the show gets a little dark. It is a show about a girl with a unibrow, a creepy shrine to a football-headed kid, a sister she can never compare to, and a father that sometimes simply calls her the girl. So perhaps it's best to leave the show as it is. Number 8. Toy Story 3 is a Holocaust allegory. We all already know Toy Story 3's Lotso the Bear is the evilest, worst, most cruel villain in all of Disney. But other than that, the story of Toy Story 3 is otherwise harmless. Andy leaves his toys to go to college, they are sent off to a daycare where they are abused and held against their will, and they attempt to escape said daycare and end up facing doom via incinerator. But according to this theory, there is another group of people that face similar persecution. The Jewish people during World War II. The first similarity between the movie and the Holocaust comes when Woody and the gang discuss what might happen to them, and Buzz suggests that they pull an Anne Frank and hide in the attic. They are taken away, segregated by other toys, and put to work in the daycare where young children tear them apart. Later, when they're too damaged, their bodies are dumped into the trash. And of course, they're taken away to an incinerator to die. Number 7. Donald Duck has PTSD. People tend to forget Donald Duck was a US military commando, and as you can see here, he went through some pretty traumatic close calls on his own, in enemy territory, as a relatively untrained recruit. He doesn't even know how to land properly while parachuting. Although he does successfully wipe out an entire Japanese military base, along with a number of planes that would probably cripple their air force. He would of course survive the war, but according to this theory, not without post-traumatic stress disorder. And he portrays many symptoms that can be used to diagnose him. He has social problems, often has flashbacks, tends to startle easily by things that would not really bother others, and has problems falling asleep. And while this may simply be because Disney would rather have us forget that he was a soldier, he never talks about his experiences to anyone. But yet, the previously stated symptoms are fairly clear. So why would he have those and not others? Number 6. Pinky is the genius and Brain is insane. Pinky and the Brain was a cartoon about two genetically modified mice. One is called Pinky and the other is called Brain. Brain dreams of taking over the world, and every episode he puts together an insane plan that should never work. As such, his plans never really reach the final stage because Pinky, who appears to be a total idiot, screws them up. Every single time. But is Pinky really such a numbskull? The most important bit of this theory comes from a line in the show's theme song. One is a genius, the other's insane. At a first glance, Pinky is insane, and Brain is a genius, but it doesn't tell us which mouse is which. Pinky is supposed to be an idiot, not really insane, and Brain is the one that comes up with all the insane plans to take over the world. So maybe he's the insane one. So if Brain is insane, how could Pinky be a genius? Well, isn't it peculiar that it is Pinky who foils Brain's plans every single time? As if he knows exactly what he has to do to screw it up. If Brain ever realized Pinky's idiocy was a sham, he might try and eliminate him. So Pinky, being the genius he is, plays dumb in hopes he can continue to foil Brain's plans undetected. Or so the theory says. Number 5. Ash is in a coma. It only takes a cursory glance to see that the world of Pokemon is pretty damn strange. No roads linking one town to another, few big cities, children are allowed to go out and explore the world at the age of 10, and what do people eat if all the animals and many plants are Pokemon? Well, it doesn't matter that Ash's world makes no sense, because his accident at the very beginning of the series put him in a coma. How else could siblings of Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny be in basically every town he visits? Clearly he knew them from his hometown, and his mind is substituting them in the roles they fill. The absence of his family is also peculiar. Ash almost never receives letters or calls from home. And what mother would be crazy enough to let her son travel the world with strangers? The common theory that we found explains Ash fighting through all the gyms and leagues as really him taking down the barriers in his mind that he needs to remove if he wants to reawaken, as he needs to realize he is in a coma before he wakes up, because otherwise, according to the theory, he would suffer brain damage. The theory goes on explaining that everything in the story represents something about him, and practically everything strange about his world can be explained away as part of his fantasy. Number 4. Rick and Morty is connected to Gravity Falls. These two shows, Rick and Morty and Gravity Falls, are easily some of the zanier cartoons to recently grace our television screens. While their target audiences are different, these shows have similar themes. But are they connected? The theory was recently brought to light by MatPat's Film Theory, and the video points out several strange occurrences. The most well-known is the appearance of a pen, a notebook, and a mystery Shaq coffee cup flying out of a portal created by Rick. Items that were sucked through a portal in Gravity Falls. There are some other in-show references, such as a pair of siblings that look like Dipper and Mabel, and the show's antagonist, Bill Cipher, appearing on screens in Rick and Morty. But the most important evidence the video gives is found in Gravity Falls Journal 3. In the corner of a wanted poster is a message from Bill Cipher that, when decoded, says Rick was here. Pair all these things and more with the fact that the directors of the shows were good friends and could have easily made these things mesh together. And you probably have two shows sharing the same multiverse. Number 3. The genie and salesperson in Aladdin are the same character. Aladdin begins with a salesman trying to sell you a lamp that you soon learn is actually the genie's lamp, and the story is recounted from there. But have you ever stopped to question who this shifty salesman actually is? Well, don't worry, because some people believe that they have already figured it out. Based on all the information we have, the salesman is none other than the genie himself. Where's the proof? Well, firstly, they're both voiced by the same actor, the late Robin Williams. Kind of odd for an actor to voice two characters in the same movie, no? Also, have a look at their appearances. They both wear blue robes tied with red sashes and have the same long, thin beard. This isn't the most convincing evidence, of course, but things can get much more interesting when you compare the salesman to every other character in the story. Unlike every other character, except the genie, of course, the salesman only appears to have 4 fingers. It isn't uncommon for some characters in cartoons to have only 4 fingers, but normally they all do. Or none of them do. Unless one is a magical specter that doesn't give a damn. You do, however, have to wonder why he would be selling his own lamp. Number 2. The kids from the Magic School Bus became the Planeteers. Miss Frizzle's class in the Magic School Bus isn't exactly normal. Going on daily field trips to study ecology and science is not on schedule for most elementary school classes. But there is another strangely similar looking, but older group, the Planeteers. This theory, explained by the Geeko system, says that Miss Frizzle's class is really a camp training new ecological warriors via mind control. A logical argument against this is that Miss Frizzle's class contained more students in the 5 that look most like the Planeteers. But that's only because they weren't all suitable. Remember how Phoebe would always make references to how her old school was different? Well, this was really her mind resisting control, and this drove her mad later on. Janet and Ralphie, on the other hand, would escape the island and end up becoming criminals, Dr. Blight and Hoggish Greedley. The theory doesn't explain what happened to Keisha, but anything can happen in Miss Frizzle's class. Number 1. Timmy from the Fairly OddParents just imagines Cosmo and Wanda. With the exception of having Fairly Godparents, Timmy arguably has the worst life a kid his age can have. His teacher absolutely hates him, his babysitter abuses him in many ways, he is bullied by a rich kid and a big gray kid. He only has 2 friends, and worst of all, his parents don't seem to notice or give a damn about him. It's pretty bad. Possibly even enough to make him imagine he actually has fairy godparents. I mean, think about it. When have any of Timmy's wishes ever had a permanent effect on his life? The answer is never. But the theory gets darker. Why are they his godparents? Doesn't Timmy have real godparents of his own? Well, maybe he did, and maybe they were people that actually cared. But since we never see them, it makes sense to say that they are, sadly, dead. Why else would Timmy imagine up new ones?